This one tip I'm about to share with you can totally save your voice. I'm Matthew Johnson, owner of Elite Singer, and one of the biggest mistakes that I hear so many singers make is that they sing too loud. Chances are you sing too loud most of the time. We're going to break this down from a science perspective and also how to pull back on that volume so you have a healthier sound with more stamina and more control. Now, if we think about the vocal folds, they are about the size of your pinky nail. They are very small. And when we use breath, those tiny vocal folds need to resist that air. So the more breath pressure that we're using, and volume equals breath, the more breath pressure you're using, the more volume you're going to have in your sound. If you're using all of that breath pressure to create volume, to be louder, those tiny vocal folds need to resist that airflow. They're going to squeeze down, they're going to tighten up, and maybe you get a stronger sound out of it, but at what cost? It's going to make the vocal folds swell up because they're resisting all of that pressure. It's also going to tire you out very quickly. So if you're getting tired after 15 to 20 minutes of singing, that's a sign that you're singing too loud. We want you to be able to sing for a couple of hours at a time and still feel very good at the end of that. And if you're singing much less, if you're getting fatigued much quicker, that's a sign that you are using too much volume, too much force on the vocal folds themselves. So we want to make sure these tiny vocal folds don't have to resist quite as much. If the breath stream is a little bit smaller or the volume is a little bit smaller, not only is it going to protect your voice, but it's also going to make sure that they could be more flexible. It's going to be easier to go into your belt. It's going to be easier to stretch higher because they're not bracing themselves from all of this breath that's moving through your voice. The other consideration for this is, I'm sure we felt this. We've been trying to go for a higher note, and maybe we're cracking a little bit or we're just a little flat, and we add a boost of volume. We get a little bit louder, and all of a sudden, the note magically appears. And that tells our brain, oh good, when I get louder, it makes sure that I get the notes that I want to sing. But there's an issue to that. The question that I'm going to ask you is, what if you want to go higher? What if you've maxed out your volume and you want to go higher? You can't add any more breath. Your voice is already much louder than it should be. You're already at the max of where you can be, but you're not as high as you want to go. What do you do next? And this is where you get stuck. So in the short term, adding a little bit of that volume might help out. Maybe it'll help you through a performance or two, a rehearsal or two, but long term, it's going to significantly cap your range because you're relying on all of this volume that has a limit. We got to make sure that the vocal folds can stretch on their own and not use that added volume as a helper. Because as soon as that helper starts to come in, the voice doesn't have much longer to go before it totally cuts out and it will not be able to sing any higher. And you might be listening to this thinking, that all sounds fine. No, I do not want to strain my voice too much. I do get fatigued too quickly. I do feel like my higher range is capped. But when I listen to my favorite singers, they have all of that volume, and I want to be as loud and as strong as they are. But there's something that we're forgetting. Actually, we almost always forget this when we're listening to our favorite streaming services or records or CDs or anything like that. There are so many editing techniques that go into creating that album. There is different layering that can happen. Maybe the singer's doing different takes. And most importantly, that singer is eating the microphone in the recording studio. If you watch any video of someone recording, any recent video of any contemporary singer, that microphone is right up to their face. They don't need to be loud. They're going to get the illusion of volume, even if they're singing at a quarter of the volume that you think that they're singing at, because the microphone is doing all of the work for them. So we have to keep in mind, even when you're listening to your favorite singer and you want to have a similar quality to them, even they're singing a lot softer than you might give them credit for. Now, I'm not saying you need to be as soft as a mouse all of the time, but pulling back on that volume a little bit just has so many benefits that I want you to get used to. To find this smaller volume, there are a couple of ways that we can go about this. One of them is honestly using the same volume that you talk with. I use this all the time. I use this when I go into my higher mix, when I go into my belt. If I keep the same volume that I talk with, hey, It feels so easy. That is totally effortless. I don't need to increase that power. I have range for days, and I could do that for hours a day. And I'm just thinking of keeping the same volume that I'm talking with. So that is one way to pull back on the volume and just get a little bit more comfortable as you're using your voice overall. The second thing that I like to use, I love this trick, is using a little bit of vocal fry. If you get used to that feeling, memorize how small that sound is, how little airflow you're using as you create that creaky feel. And if you keep that feeling and sensation as you go higher, that's going to pull you back into the perfect balance of volume that you're using. You could do this going into a melody of a song. You could do this going into an exercise. Whatever it may be, starting with that fry can give you the perfect balance that you're looking for to make sure that you are totally on the right track and having stamina for days and making sure you aren't overworking or abusing your voice. So fry is a great way to find that. The other way that I love is using some type of voiced or unvoiced fricative. So a fricative is a type of s, z, sh, zh. Anything that closes the mouth and gets that airflow going. F is another example of this. If you can memorize the volume or the breath flow that you're using on those fricatives, you could just hiss for an extended period of time. Keep that gentle feeling of breath as you sing. Immediately things are going to feel easier. Immediately they're going to balance out. Immediately you're going to feel less effort and force going into wherever you need to in your range, whether it's high or low, sustaining a note, singing through a long chorus, a high bridge, anything like that. That fricative is such a good way to just pull back on that volume and get that breath support going, that steady airflow moving, just on a more consistent basis. And another thing that I love is the number scale. So if you think of scale of 1 to 10, how loud do you typically sing? If your answer is an 8.5, 9, 9.5, even 10, that means that you are going too far, okay? So if you're used to singing at an 8.5, try and pull back to a 6 and just see how it feels. If you're used to singing at a 7, pull back at a 5 and just see how it feels. Just slowly walk back that volume and you'll feel the benefits of taking away some of that strain from the voice. Now, fun exercise that you can use is, whether this is through an exercise or through a verse or chorus of a song, try and sing it at all of these different levels. Try and sing it at a 9. See what it feels like. Try and sing it at a 7. Try and sing it at a 5, then a 3, then a 2. See how small you can pull back. Not only will that give you a lot of control in your voice overall, but it's also going to give you that full experience of where are you pushing that voice too far? Or where is that sweet spot where things start to feel really, really comfortable? And always keep in mind, when you're singing, especially contemporary styles of music, your rock, your pop, your metal, your R&B, your folk, anything in that contemporary style, you have a microphone to help you out. So you don't need to push volume so the audience can hear you. You have technology doing that for you. And that technology is there for a reason. We would not have those styles of music if we didn't have microphones, because the human voice just couldn't project that loud. It just can't be physically possible. So I implore you, pull back on that volume a little bit. It's going to help you build that range, build more consistency in your voice, make sure that you have more stamina to sing the music that you love. It is so important. Give it a try and you'll see how much of a difference that makes as you sing. If you enjoyed this tip, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps out. I really appreciate it. And there are many more tips coming, so comment down below, what are you struggling with most in your voice? I'm going to make a video about it. I want to help you out, so I look forward to seeing you in the comments there. I also have a free resource in the description that'll take your voice to the next level, totally free, so go ahead and check that out. And thank you so much for joining in today. I look forward to seeing you for our next video.